In 1971, Yves Saint Laurent threw a party. But it wasn't at some lavish chateau in the south of France. It was in the form of a runway show, and the world despised it. Critics called it vulgar, disrespectful, a mockery of French elegance. But Saint Laurent, he didn't even flinch. He understood something the world wasn't ready to admit. Luxury isn't about expensive fabric or perfect stitching. It's about selling a fantasy so powerful, people will pay thousands just to live in it for a moment. And in the process, he didn't just build a fashion house. He created the psychological blueprint that every luxury brand on earth still follows today. So how did a shy, fragile boy from colonial Algeria hijack our desires and convince us that luxury means transformation, not just possession? And why are we still under his spell 50 years later? Before Yves Saint Laurent, luxury fashion was safe, predictable, respectable. Christian Dior ruled the world with his new look, nipped waists, flowing skirts, and a return to pre-war femininity. It was poised, polished, and Parisian to the core. Luxury meant tradition, not transformation. Designers were glorified tailors. Models were human mannequins. Fashion was a museum, beautiful but frozen behind glass. This was fashion as armor, protecting the elite from the changing world outside. But in the streets, revolution was brewing. Young people weren't buying couture. They were buying rebellion. And deep inside the hallowed halls of Dior, a young assistant was watching it all unfold. His name, Yves Saint Laurent. A man who would eventually turn the entire concept of luxury inside out. But before he could tear down the old world of luxury, he first had to survive his own complete psychological collapse. Yves Saint Laurent was born in Oran, Algeria, a French colony simmering with heat, violence, and secrets. He was painfully shy, emotionally fragile, mercilessly bullied, and obsessed with movies. As a child, he created paper dolls and designed elaborate gowns for them, not for fun, but for survival, to escape the cruelty that surrounded him. Fashion wasn't his career. It was his shield against reality. At 17, he fled to Paris. By 21, he was the wunderkind heading the house of Dior. And then came the fall. By 25, he was drafted into the Algerian War and came back broken, institutionalized, heavily medicated, subjected to electroshock therapy, forgotten. But when he finally emerged from the darkness, he didn't just want to design fashion, he wanted to remake it in his own image. What came next would horrify the old guard of luxury and reveal the psychological strategy that would seduce the world. In 1966, Yves Saint Laurent did the unthinkable. He opened Rive Gauche, a ready-to-wear boutique, not haute couture. For the luxury world, this wasn't just a change, it was heresy. Luxury was supposed to be exclusive, custom-made, available only to the elite. But Saint Laurent had a different vision. He didn't just want to dress women, he wanted to transform them. Saint Laurent's design innovations weren't just stylish, they were weaponized psychology. The Le Smoking tuxedo suit wasn't just a garment, it was a feminist manifesto sewn in satin. In 1966, when women couldn't even wear pants in certain restaurants and hotels, Saint Laurent dressed them in the ultimate symbol of male authority and made it sexier than any dress. Then came the safari jacket in 1968, taking a colonial military uniform and transforming it into a symbol of female liberation. The transparency blouses of 1968, showing the female form without apology. The peasant-inspired collections that made low culture into high fashion. The street-inspired beatnik looks that borrowed from outcasts. Fashion historians note that before Saint Laurent, couture was about elevating women through elegance. After him, it became about empowering them through provocation. But his most radical innovation wasn't any single garment. It was the concept of the complete wardrobe. Before Saint Laurent, luxury brands sold individual pieces. He sold a complete lifestyle, a total transformation package. Every piece worked together to create not just an outfit, but an identity. This wasn't accidental. It was psychological engineering at its finest, and it created a blueprint for addiction that no luxury brand has ever abandoned. He gave them safari jackets, see-through blouses, men's tuxedos reimagined for female bodies. This wasn't just fashion, it was power. And suddenly, luxury wasn't about fitting in, it was about becoming someone else, someone bolder, more dangerous, more free. What Saint Laurent understood, and what every luxury brand now copies, is that people don't buy products, they buy identities. But the real psychological breakthrough was still to come, a revolution that would forever change how luxury brands seduce our wallets. In 1971, Yves Saint Laurent stripped down, completely naked, for his own men's fragrance campaign. No designer had ever used their own body as a marketing tool. But Saint Laurent wasn't selling cologne. He was selling scandal. He followed with a women's perfume called Opium, banned in several countries for glorifying drug use. The conventional wisdom in luxury marketing was to be aspirational, tasteful, safe. Saint Laurent's approach? Be controversial. What Saint Laurent had discovered was a formula so psychologically potent, it's practically manipulation. Marketing psychologist Dr. Robert Cialdini explains this phenomenon. This pioneered what we now call strategic inaccessibility, the careful engineering of barriers that make consumers chase the brand rather than the other way around. The formula works like this. First, create a clear aspiration, not just beauty, but transformation. Second, make obtaining it feel like joining a tribe, not just buying a product. Third, introduce artificial barriers, price points, limited editions, social gatekeeping. And finally, use controversy as currency, making ownership feel like rebellion. But Saint Laurent added a fifth element that made his formula unstoppable: the emotional narrative. Saint Laurent didn't sell clothes, explains consumer psychologists. He sold emotional rescue from conformity. He made buying luxury feel like an act of self-liberation rather than self-indulgence. This psychological framework created something beyond mere desire. It created addiction. Because scandal creates something no advertising budget can buy: obsession. Saint Laurent had cracked the psychological code. Don't sell products. Sell surrender. Make the customer chase the product like an addiction. Each launch became a provocation. Each photo campaign, a hallucination. Each piece, a passport to a forbidden world. But while sales exploded, the man himself was spiraling. He had created the perfect luxury fantasy, but he was also living proof of how easily that fantasy could consume you. And this was the contradiction that would fuel his most controversial creation yet. The 1971 Liberation collection looked like a hallucinatory fever dream, inspired by the women of occupied Paris during World War II, specifically the mistresses of Nazi officers and nightclub singers. Women who weren't supposed to be fashionable, who weren't supposed to be seen. Critics were apoplectic, but the public couldn't look away. Because Yves understood something the critics didn't. Luxury isn't just about beauty, it's about tension. Glamour wrapped around taboo, desire mixed with danger, fantasy colliding with reality. He sold a feeling, a permission slip, to be dangerous, to be bold, to be more than just yourself. And that feeling, that psychological trigger of transformation through taboo, is what every modern luxury house now chases with religious devotion. Look around at today's luxury landscape. From Balenciaga's calculated outrageousness, to Tom Ford's erotic reimagining of Gucci, to streetwear brands creating artificial scarcity. They're not just copying Saint Laurent's aesthetic, they're weaponizing his psychological strategy. Create tension between accessibility and exclusivity. Sell transformation, not products. Use controversy as currency. Make people chase the fantasy, not the item. What Saint Laurent unleashed wasn't just a new style. It was a complete reconfiguration of the luxury business model. Before him, the global luxury market was worth approximately $10 billion in today's dollars. Today, it's a $1.4 trillion industry. Luxury business analysts have explained, Saint Laurent invented what we now call accessible aspiration. The idea that a brand can simultaneously be exclusive at the top and accessible at the bottom. This paradox is what allowed luxury to scale globally while maintaining premium positioning. Before Saint Laurent, luxury brands made money by selling expensive things to rich people. After him, they made real money by selling the dream of luxury to everyone else. Look at the numbers. For most luxury fashion houses today, ready-to-wear clothing accounts for less than 30% of revenue. The real profit centers? Accessories, fragrances, cosmetics. The entry-level luxury categories Saint Laurent pioneered. A YSL lipstick at $38 isn't just a product. It's a gateway drug to a $3,000 handbag. Luxury finance experts explain, what makes this model so brilliant is its self-sustaining nature. The accessible products fund the high-fashion runway shows, which create the cultural prestige that makes people want the accessible products. It's a perfectly engineered perpetual motion machine. This model didn't just change fashion, it rewrote how all luxury brands operate. But Saint Laurent's most lasting market innovation wasn't just about structure, it was about geography. By making luxury about fantasy rather than heritage, he broke luxury free from its European constraints. When luxury became about psychological transformation rather than historical pedigree, it could sell anywhere in the world. And just look at the results. Today, well over half of growth in the luxury market comes from Asia, a region that had virtually no luxury market before Saint Laurent's revolution. By replacing heritage with fantasy, he made luxury universal. Because while not everyone understands French cultural history, everyone understands desire. This is the Saint Laurent playbook, executed across the entire luxury industry. The financial genius of Saint Laurent's approach becomes clear when you look at the numbers. A YSL handbag that sells for $3,000 contains perhaps $200 worth of materials and labor. That's a markup of 1,400%, far beyond what any other industry can command. But consumers don't just accept this markup, they celebrate it. Because Saint Laurent understood the most profitable equation in business. Desire divided by accessibility equals price. The more you increase desire while limiting accessibility, the higher the price you can charge. This formula has transformed countless industries beyond fashion, from limited edition sneakers to premium tech products. We've been conditioned to respond to these triggers without even realizing it. Saint Laurent didn't just create beautiful clothes. He engineered a psychological response to luxury that bypasses rational thought. But here's the ultimate irony. He wanted to escape the rules of luxury. Instead, he became its most influential architect. The outsider became the blueprint. The rebel became the standard. The escape artist created the perfect luxury prison. Yves Saint Laurent didn't just change fashion. He changed what luxury means. He made it seductive, dangerous, a mirror and a mask, both at once. He sold transformation wrapped in silk. In doing so, he gave birth to the luxury fantasy we're still chasing today. And he left us with a question that haunts every luxury purchase. Are we buying these things because we love them, or because we've been programmed to want them? The truth is, When you buy luxury today, you're not buying an object. You're buying a fantasy that Yves Saint Laurent invented. A beautiful escape from who you are into who you wish you could be. And that fantasy, that brief, beautiful transformation, is what makes us willing to pay thousands for something that cost hundreds to make. It's not rational, it's not practical, but it is powerful. Because in the end, Saint Laurent didn't just sell clothes, he sold the most seductive drug of all, the chance to become someone else, if only for a moment.